Hey everybody, you love Ren, we love Ren. If you've never heard of Ren, you've been living under a rock because Ren is amazing, one of the greatest artists of our time. And here we are with one of his songs, Money Game Part 3. Was there a Part 1 and 2?
I have no idea.
We have not seen those.
Tell us in the comments if they exist.
I haven't seen them. So, Money Game Part 3, here we go.
Okay, that was a silly time to stop. Do you hear how excellent that microphone was? It picked up his fingers touching.
I did.
That's a very sensitive microphone.
Okay, I said that Ren is one of the greatest artists of our time, greatest musicians of our time. I forgot to mention that his cameraman, or whatever monster he uses to do his camera work, is one of the greatest cameramen of all time.
Yeah, the camera work is always phenomenal.
It's so
with
good.
Ren.
So
I mean,
good.
like, the zoom out to just, like, all of a sudden impact you with this. This guy has a bag around his head. The whole time, like, wow, this guy can really play piano.
Well, and then he's like...
Yes, and then it was the spin, but the spin paused and slowed down as soon as you had the reflection on the underside of the piano cover.
Yeah.
And you could see the reflection of him there. That was where it slowed down at, to like just emphasize the eeriness that Ren puts in his music. And then like almost like it was gonna fall and hit the ground and just faded out to Money Game Part 3. Just excellent work with the camera.
Man.
Like, I don't even think when I'm making videos that, I can utilize the camera position in such creative ways.
It makes a huge
But he
difference.
does such a good job of
It
that.
makes a huge difference.
The Tale of Jenny and Screech was just chef's kiss on that.
We have to do that one again. We did that one, and then we had technical difficulties, and it ruined the video.
The
So those who
entire
keep
video.
asking about, like, when are we going to do Rennie and Screech, it, like, our souls hurt because we did it once, and it wouldn't be, like, a full... first-time reaction. But we will do it. I promise you, we will do it. Either today or next week or the week after, sometime in the next year.
We'll do it again. It's hard to put that genie back in the bottle once you know, like,
I know.
the big twist at the end. But the camera work in that was next level.
So good.
Next level.
Anyway, but this is Money Game.
All right, I'm going to pause this before it breaks into the reveal and everything real quick, just to talk about the sound stage that they have set here. It's very quiet. You can hear there's a little bit of static, some water dripping in the background, but you can hear every rustle of the fabric and everything. It's almost textural in the way they've used their sound stage here. It's just excellent work.
It gives you so much feel for what it is. Like, you feel the sense of, like, a desperation even when he's pulling the rope from his neck, and it's like this like, what is this? Is that me? Like, what's happening right now? And you feel, because it takes into account not just what you see and what you hear, but it gives it a feel, a tactile
the texture,
a tactile sensation. But you don't feel it; you just hear it. But the way that they're able to convey that sense of, like, in your brain, you register it as a feeling, but it's a sound. Oh, it's so cool.
me tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. 1 year old and his first words were mine, mine, gimme. 2 years old he was walking, 3 years old walking quickly. 4 years old he was running round the pavements of his city. 5 years old and his daddy told him, listen here son, you gotta learn to be a man. A man, he works for what he wants. 6 years old and he's reading, writing, top of the bunch. And when he's 7, his progression made him student number 1. 8 years old and he's praised for unusual grades. 9, his parents paid for private school to nurture the flame. 10, 11, 12, 13, he ascends and ascends. His daddy tells him, son, money is the means to all ends. 14, solving complex mathematical equations. At 15, IQ 150, still elevating. 16, he develops complex software code that detects weaknesses in cybersecurity protocols. 17, and he sells his vision, keeping the share. Not yet an adult, but he's practically a millionaire. 18, and his daddy tells him, now you're a man. This world don't give a damn about you, so take all that you can. 19, he turns a profit, stocks and shares, invest in product. 20, double down deposits. 21, his income rockets. 22, he learns the truth is just an obstacle to wealth. If you manipulate the data, then the lie will sell itself. 23, a life of luxury, crystal and cocaine. 24, he makes the Forbes list, they're applauding his name. 25, and his daddy tells him, listen here son, while you're sitting in that palace, that don't mean that you won. 26, a business shift, he switches business to arms. He's 27, dealing nuclear and shells in Iran. 28, inside the Senate, money bought him a seat. He's 29, a role of counsel in the president's suite. Now he's 30, his daddy says you're losing the race. You're just a servant to the king, not even in second place. 31, a big maneuver for his daddy's approval, moving imports over borders from the exports out of Cuba. 32, moving grams, growing kilos to tons. He's 33, filling warehouses with powder and guns. 34, turf war with nobody to stop it. Blind eye from the po-po inside of his pocket.
I don't even know what to say to all that. There was like a new message.
I just slobbered on my mouth, sorry.
There was like a new message and a new criticism on society every 3 lines.
Yeah, well, you notice like he starts off as a kid and it's like, oh, gifted kid, and his dad's like, work hard, pushes him, you know, and then he turns 20-ish, right? And then the music changes. You hear the music change, it speeds up a little bit, gets a little more intense, a little more like less of that kind of inquiring feeling, like less of that exploratory and more of that, what's the word I'm looking for? Like assertive, right? It's just like, this is what we're doing now, bum, 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 right? And, oh my goodness, dude. Sorry, I'm just like blown away by this.
It's theatrical, all in one room. Look, I'm going to go back to the very beginning when he's like putting his clothes on and they're moving around, again, the camera work around this mirror. It almost made it look like the mirror was a portal into what you are about to actually witness. Mm-hmm. It's like you're getting a glimpse of it. You're not actually seeing the whole thing. You're staring at a wall, but you've got a portal that's allowing you to see into what's about to happen.
Right.
But they made sure that the camera never exposed any of the set that was going on the other side. Mm-hmm. So it was almost like a false... what do they call that? A false preview into what was going to happen, because none of what you saw was actually applicable to what was about to happen. It's just very interesting camera work. I find the things that he does creatively, when you think about them from a logical mindset, they're still so incredibly interesting. It's just chef's kiss on that work. Then he starts to criticize society. As soon as the kid... IQ 150, he writes a program, sells it, he's basically a millionaire, he gets onto the Forbes list, and he's living in the fast lane. Right. He goes, well, how do I go up from here? Because he still doesn't have his father's approval. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the driving force behind all this. Your dad says, you're still not enough. You're still not the king. You're still not number one. It's like, well, Dad, what are you? Right? Like, his dad's not the president either. But
prove it.
Yeah. So he gets into the Senate. He's on the Senate seat, and then he gets... into council with the president all the time, and still that's not enough because you're not number one. He goes, okay, where do I grow from here? I guess I can sell weapons. I guess I can start selling drugs. I have the police in my pocket at this point. I have the world as my oyster, and I can do whatever I want. And in order to try to chase this approval, he's trying to find it through the dark. It's like he went through the way you're supposed to go and still couldn't get it. So fine, if I can't get it there, I'll get it down here. And just, it's like 5 years he went from counseling with the president to I'm just selling drugs and weapons through cartels.
Well, and like it said, you know, that line that kind of changed everything was, I learned that the truth was just an obstacle to profit.
Yes.
Right? And it's like, yeah, you can go all kinds of ways with life and stuff. Man, I want to give so much commentary to this, but it's so perfectly written already.
Yeah.
I like don't feel like I have anything to add to it.
Yeah, it's wow. Okay. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here, because it's like, okay, now that I have the police on my pocket, I'm on top of the world, I have won in the honest realms and the corrupt realms, where do I go now?
Yeah.
And he still has not gotten this approval that he's been seeking.
Die from the po-po inside of his pocket.
Okay, I don't know if they timed that on purpose, but the timing of the globe stopping its spin right as he picked it up.
Oh,
and
play that again. I didn't catch
You could
that.
hear the globe grinding down to a halt. Almost like you would hit the brakes and just as he picked up the phone. Just perfectly timed. You could hear all that again, that textural feel of hearing that happen. Not to mention the phone call, just I was not expecting that whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I was expecting him to go into another verse, not have his phone ring.
Po-po inside of his pocket. "35. He gets the call. I'm sorry, son, but it's your father. Had a heart attack. I'm sorry, he's gone. 36. Getting pissed off, abusing his product. 37. Eyes glazed, disposition demonic. 38. With a prostitute, a moment of passion. Heating up a silver spoon and then chasing the dragon. 39. Getting reckless and hungry for power. Daddy's words are still driving him to kill and devour. Makes a move against the cartel, but the strategy's flawed. They retaliate and leave him in a hospital ward. A bullet buried in his vertebra and one in his leg. The doctor sighs and says, I don't think you'll be walking again. Fuck.
Every detail is so thought out. I had been wondering from the beginning why they had chosen a floor that had the bumps in it.
Because you can hear every
You
movement.
can hear every movement and clank of that wheelchair.
Yep, and with the aluminum walls and siding.
It all bounces around. That's that sound stage where you can hear everything echoing inside that aluminum wall. But every clank of that wheelchair, you could feel the weight of his body stuck inside of it as it just clicked along this floor.
Okay, this is next level storytelling. People say that Ren has brought back this bardic style of singing, right? Where it's like telling a story. But man, he has not just brought something back that existed. He has created something here that is just next level. This is not... If you guys know of something that's similar to this, show it to me. I have to see it. Because I have never seen anything quite like what Ren does. And I thought Jenny and Screech was like top shelf. I would say that this has even outdone that in a number of ways. And just absolutely phenomenal. From the emotions that he shows in his face, the music matching the tone, the feel, the emotion, the weight when he just like drops things down, the phone ringing, like all of these different things, they all play together to just like suck you into this. This is one of those videos where I just like, I dread Chase pushing the pause button because I don't want it to stop because it is so engrossing.
Yes.
This is man, if Hollywood had Ren making their videos for them or planning their videos for them, I think we'd have better videos coming out of Hollywood.
Well, Ren's
This is
storytelling
incredible.
is so succinct, right? So when he's talking about how he's gotten involved with the cartels and he's lost it because now he lost his dad. And he's never going to get that approval that he's been seeking so desperately his whole life. He's never going to get that. He loses it. He loses everything, starts doing wrong actions, starts being a little cavalier with his life, gets in the bad fight with the cartel. And when he's talking about the cartel, a smoke bomb goes flying across the screen.
Crazy.
The fighters start running back and forth across. I didn't even know there were people in that room.
This is just like an aluminum room, right? It's like what, like 30 by 40, 40 by 40, something like that. It's not a giant studio. And what they're able to do in here with this small space and just like a few gadgets and some tools and some props and some phenomenal acting and what I imagine is a lot of planning. It's just absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah. I mean, the attention to detail, and we've talked about this with BTS videos, where the attention to detail is what really makes it stand out and makes it show that their creativity was completely for the world to see there. That's what's happening with these Ren videos, where it's just every single detail is planned out. To the point that I didn't look at the floor and go, that's an interesting floor in that warehouse. I saw the floor in the beginning and thought, I wonder why they chose a floor that's bumpy like that.
It's crazy.
And then it shows up why. Because every detail has been planned out.
Let me tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. He was 40 and he cursed the words, mine, mine, gimme. 41 he wasn't walking, 42 not walking quickly, 43 never running round the pavements of his city, 44 inside a palace with a mountain of gold. But those riches turn to rubble when perspective evolves. Weighing heavy on his conscience is the value of gold. Lamborghini for a life, trading money for souls. Jimmy followed the code inside the land of the free. Put your hand inside the cookie jar, take more than you need. And his example is exaggerated versions of me. And it's a version of him, and it's a version of she, and it's a version of you. There's no escaping the blame. The way we live is parasitic. Fuck the money and fame. Cut the music. This isn't entertainment. This is real life. The way we live is lunacy, community, it declines. Hyperpolarized, always fighting, then we divide. Truth is less important than the money that we designed. Money's an invention. Politics from our invention. They all come from people's ideas. Did I mention? Border's an invention. Law and order fuel the tension. It leads to people killing each other. My solution? Everything is subject to change. We could build utopias if individuals were taught to use their brains. But if we teach kids in schools to always be sheep and put themselves before the herd if there's more money for me, then there's no future I see where the humans survive. We're parasites inside a petri dish with cannibal minds. Mold will grow upon the surface then consumes till it dies. And our fate could be the same without this story to the wise. "45. Jimmy comes home out of the rain."
All right, before we get into the next refrain, I'm going to put the asterisk that please, before you pick up a gun, follow the rules of gun safety, because he followed none of them. I'm going to throw that out there.
Or at least on camera, he followed none of them.
That's true.
You
On
know,
camera, he followed none.
He could be doing all kinds of different things on there. You know?
That's true.
Okay. From a poetry standpoint, one of the things that he did that is super powerful. If you write poetry, this is a very powerful method. And what you do is you end where you started. So he starts with the child. It's like when he's 1, he's doing this. He's 2, he's doing this. He's 3, he's doing this. But then when you come back to it at the end, it's a little bit different. And that's where it all sinks in and it pulls you. And what it does is it connects the entire thing together and it reminds you of the beginning. So it kind of takes, you're kind of walking down this path and like you feel the weight of each step on this poem. And then when you circle it back to the beginning, it's like taking the entire path or like every step that you took before and like setting it on top of you. And that's like the effect that this having the thing at the beginning come back at you at the end does. And it's really, really impactful. But so he comes into this like, he's 41 and he's doing this. 42, he can't walk. So he started walking and it's like, he can't walk. He was walking fast, he can't walk fast. You know, he was running, he can't run. And it just like, boom, it just gets you. It just takes the weight of the entire story and puts it right on the moment. Which is really cool and really important because he also, what he does is he comes out and he says, guys, this isn't entertainment. I'm not singing a song for you. I'm not giving you just like jollies by the campfire. This is real life. This is an exaggeration. This is a story that portrays you and me and that person and that person. This is life taken to the extreme. This is these choices, this philosophy taken to the extreme. And this is what happens. And so you take that and you have the weight of real life and then the weight of the entire story brought back again. And that, man, like a lot of times people will break the fourth wall like that. Mm-hmm. Breaking the fourth wall is a really risky thing to do because sometimes when you break the fourth wall, it comes off as pretentious or arrogant. Like, I'm so cool, I don't even have to keep character. I can just do whatever I want, you know? Sometimes it can be clever and funny, like how Deadpool does it in the comics. He breaks the fourth wall all of the time as though like he's living in a comic book. But here, the way that he broke the fourth wall connects him and this story to the audience so that you can't just sit and watch it as entertainment or as a cool video or even as a thoughtful like what do you call that, like a story with a meaning, you know, like a
moral,
a parable or something like that, right? He's connecting and saying like, no, stop, I'm talking to you about you, this whole thing. So take it, because that's what it is. And then when he goes right back in, but he doesn't just like stop and like talk. He does a whole scene outside of the fourth wall. Mm-hmm. And that scene where he's like messing with the gun and stuff, it's so ominous, so eerie, right? Because of the way that you see him, the way that they will zoom in and out of the gun while he's talking about things. And he's still outside the fourth wall. Mm-hmm. He's prepping the scene, right? But he's not. That scene is so impactful, even between, you know, the fourth wall, right? Mm-hmm. Which is so crazy because you don't see that. You see people come in and they're either in the scene, I'm in character, it's go time, or they're out and they're talking to the camera or whatever, like, hey, I'm breaking the fourth wall. But the way he did this was just, man, it's so innovative. This is one of the most incredible songs, the music videos that I've ever seen in my life. This is insane.
I was actually talking to a good friend of mine very recently about the parasitism of our capitalist societies. And this is coming from someone who's fairly libertarian-minded, fairly capitalist in mindset, right? And I'm talking about these things saying, I understand that our society is built on the backs of the blood, sweat, and tears of mostly people in Asia, right? It's the dark underbelly of the society that we live in, is that it's built upon terrible lives of other people.
My kids were built by people in Asia too.
At least one person from Asia. But we we have to come into it with the understanding that we live these extravagant lives compared to a lot of people in the world, and we live that at their expense in some ways. And there's a certain moral requirement of us, in my opinion, that we try to find ways to at least progress technologically in ways that can bring those people up so that their efforts and sacrifice are not in vain. And I was talking to my friend about this. He's fairly socialist leaning in his politics. And the contrast of understanding the positions and the difference being, I don't think we can tear down our society in order to flatten the playing field effectively. Another society is just going to come up and start capitalizing on it anyway. But that maybe we have to technologically advance to the point that we can bring up everyone in a way that we can't right now. I'm really excited to see what Ren thinks his solution is, because a person as creative and intelligent as he is, with the hard life experience that he's had, I'm sure has a very unique prescription for the issue. And I'm excited to see what it is. Anything to say?
Well, I was just going to say that, like, when it comes to, I think what he said about the truth, and where we talked about that turning point from the truth, I think that is really, really key when discussing capitalism in general, or even just like economic systems in general, like both within your own country and in the world. Because there's a lot of times people will create these models of how they think the world is working, right? So that we can discuss it, right? Because we can't just discuss everything in all detail all the time, so we create models.
Yes.
But the models that they create are very oversimplified in sometimes, or they're just inaccurate.
They kind of always have to be oversimplified.
They're always oversimplified, but they're often inaccurate, right? Because you might have something where it's like a family in China is making your cell phone or something, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, maybe that was like the very best opportunity that person had, and you needing that cell phone from them made them have a better life than they would have had just being like some kind of peasant, right? Or maybe it's not that way. And maybe there's somewhere in the middle where somebody is like taking more than they should, or maybe they're like harsh or cruel or whatever. And it's that truth, which we can also like add in the element of compassion in that, where it's like, which I think is actually part of truth, because we're all humans, right? Like, that's just a fact, right? That's not like disputable. We're all people, right? And so having compassion in that sense of like the greater tribe, I think is really key, because then as we strive and as we make things and as we improve our lives, there's also like this sense of we can and should and ought to be doing like improving other people's lives.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just like, well, I can get a whole bunch, and like you said, you sell your soul, right? Like, what should a man profit if he should sell his soul and obtain the whole world, right? It doesn't mean anything. You destroy yourself. But if you seek for these things and how to grow and learn and improve, but at the same time not throwing people by the wayside and saying, you are a stepping stone to my success, but saying like, you are a brother or sister, or you are my family in some capacity, you know, even if you're in a continent away, but like together we can build success, and like I give to you and you give to me and we both benefit.
Yeah.
And that's like the heart of capitalism from the people who are pro-capitalist, is like, I give to you and you give to me and we both choose that, and because of that exchange we both were better off than we were before, because I value the thing that I got from you more than I value the thing that I'm giving you, and you value the thing you got from me more than you value the thing that you gave to me. And so everybody goes up in that system, but there's a lot of places where corruption can happen and it can get bad.
Yeah.
But yes, I can't wait to see what happens next.
45. Jimmy comes home out of the rain, soaking wet upon a wheelchair, drinking again. He is everything he wants, he is fortune and fame. He's a fortunate fool with an unfortunate fate, with a 45 caliber aimed at his brain. 45 a fitting number cause his age is the same. Here's the words of his father, it's such a damn shame. Then he presses on the trigger of a money game.
I think that his solution is to say, here's the problem, go figure out the solution. And I think that that is probably a better solution than just handing us a, hey, just do this and it'll be okay. There were so many points in the song that if we were to look at that from both like a parenting standpoint or just growing up or just being an adult or a friend to someone else who might be going through something similar, right? Where we can see like, here's a turning point. Here's a turning point. Like, here's a spot where we could have made an adjustment. Here's a spot where we could have changed something about the way that I interact with the world that could have changed this story. And I think that that is a message.
Yeah.
Like, that is a solution. Here's your story. Look at it. Now you fix it in real life.
Yeah, there are so many points where it could have changed. Anything from a meaning more than just trying to seek for an unobtainable approval from a parental figure, right? To where obviously the parent could have done something to like say, hey, good job, I'm proud of you for doing this thing. Keep going. I bet you can do even more. Instead of the, you're not even there yet. You're not the king yet. You're not even in second place.
That's how I talk to Chase.
Or there's, at any point, Jimmy could have come up with a more important meaning to himself than just the money game, because as soon as his dad was gone and he could no longer seek for his approval, which was his true meaning, everything fell apart for him. Maybe find a more lasting meaning as an adult is probably an important message of that. Another way you could take that is finding a way to not play the game at the expense of truth, because that was a very fine turning point. Was he was playing the money game, and then he realized, if I don't care about the truth and just twist what is the truth to manipulate the game, I can win unendingly.
And here's the thing, like when he, after the point where he started to play against the truth, right,
Mm-hmm.
to discard the truth, like that's where you start to see that he really began the steps of discarding himself. And that ultimately culminated in his demise.
Yeah.
Right? And like when you play against the truth, you play against yourself, right? And like when you, I don't know, like all these religions of the world, I'll talk about like compassion and charity and love and all these things, and they all like culminate in, or they just talk about being like culminating in a sense of fulfillment and meaning.
Yeah.
You know, but when you throw all those things away, like you said, you sell your soul and your gold turns to rubble, right? Your riches turn to
I
rags.
traded a Lamborghini for a life.
Yeah.
And that didn't turn out well for him. But that does. It's the biblical stories, the religious stories, almost all of them point to like one ultimate truth being the pinnacle. And if you can reach towards the ultimate truth, you will be on the right track. Is if you were trying to boil down all religion into like a quick statement, it's reaching toward the ultimate truth is the correct path. And I think that's a big part of what was sold in this story of Jimmy, is that as soon as he gave up the truth for what he saw as a worldly gain, he gave up everything.
I want to just ask a favor of everybody watching, because I think that songs like this and the messages that are made in songs like this are super important. And the favor that I want to ask is that when you look at this song, this music video, like at what point do you see, like there's a changing point and here's how it could be changed? Like, how do we change this story so that we don't end up like Jimmy? Like, I really want your sincere thoughts on this. I promise I will read every single comment. I want your sincere thoughts on how we change our story, both like individually and collectively, so that we don't turn into Jimmy's story. I really want to hear that. If you'd be so kind as to just share your thoughts with me. I'll be contemplating that all week. My goodness.
And, share Ren everywhere, because...
Yeah, go subscribe to this guy. If you haven't subscribed to Ren's channel yet, you are doing the world a disservice. There, I said it. Anyway, guys, if you guys like this, go check out our video of Ren and Chinchilla singing How to Be Me. Subscribe and we'll see you next time. Thank you.